Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a really fascinating puzzle.
All right, so I want you to imagine a farming system. One that takes the waste from fish
and uses it to grow fresh, delicious vegetables, but get this, without a single speck of soil.
What you're looking at is aquaponics. It's this beautiful, elegant system, a nearly perfect, self-sustaining loop for producing food.
I mean, it sounds like the future of sustainable farming, right? So why is it an absolute bureaucratic nightmare to actually launch one of these in Germany? Okay, let's get into it.
All right, so the very first roadblock for anyone trying to start an aquaponics farm in Germany is a kind of identity crisis. You see, here's the thing. German law doesn't actually have a specific legal definition for aquaponics. And right there, that's where the trouble begins.
And this really gets to the heart of the problem. Local authorities have to ask, is this thing Landwirtschaft, agriculture, or is it Gewerbe, a commercial business? And believe me, the answer to that question changes everything. If they call it agriculture, great, you can set up in rural areas. But if they decide it's a commercial business, well, suddenly you're treated like a factory, and you're stuck building only in industrial or commercial zones.
Okay, so let's say our would-be entrepreneur actually finds a spot. Now they need to get approval, which leads them smack into the next massive hurdle, the infamous German permit maze.
In a lot of places, you might go to one office to get your permits, but not in Germany. Because of its federal system, there's no one-stop shop. Instead, you have to find your way through this dizzying maze of different agencies.
And just look at this list. The number of people who need to sign off is just staggering. You've got your building authorities, water authorities, veterinary offices, environmental agencies. I mean, the list just keeps going. And every single one of them has their own set of rules, their own timelines. It's a mountain of paperwork that can crush a small business before it even starts.
And if that wasn't enough, on top of all that, most projects big enough to be commercial have to go through a mandatory and very complex environmental impact assessment. You'll hear it called an EIA.
This isn't a simple form either. We're talking about a multi-stage process. First, the authorities decide what to even look at. Then you have to submit a super detailed analysis. Then it goes out for public comment. And only then do the authorities make a decision. This whole thing can be incredibly long, super expensive, and you know what? A bad review at the very end can just stop the entire project dead in its tracks.
Okay, so let's imagine our hero entrepreneur somehow makes it through the zoning mess and the environmental assessment. You'd think they're in the clear, right? Nope. Now they have to deal with conflicting rules for the two different halves of their own system.
So for the fish part, the aquaculture, the rules are incredibly strict. It's all about preventing the spread of fish diseases. The fish have to be registered, you're subject to animal welfare laws, and if you even suspect a disease outbreak, you have to report it immediately. The authorities can literally come in, quarantine your facility, or even order you to cull your entire stock. That's a huge weight on your shoulders as an operator.
And what about the plants? Well, that side of the equation has its own set of very unique challenges, mostly about how you keep them healthy.
And this is the really critical part. Think about it. You can't just go and spray your plants with pesticides like you would on a normal farm. Why? Because anything you put on those plants is going to end up in the water, right where your fish are living. You'd poison the fish and kill your entire system.
So what does that mean? It means operators have no choice but to become experts in something called integrated pest management. They have to rely on prevention and using natural predators, biological controls. It's a whole lot more complex and hands-on than conventional farming.
Okay, so after battling through all of those rules, our founder is finally ready to sell their amazing, sustainable, pesticide-free food. But they're about to run into the biggest, thickest brick wall yet.
I mean, the first thing you'd want to do is market this stuff as organic, right? It makes perfect sense. Well, here's the kicker. In the European Union, the answer to that is a firm, unequivocal no.
And this is the knockout punch. The EU's organic rules have two major prohibitions that directly target aquaponics. First, plants must be grown in living soil to be organic, so that's out. Second, for fish, using recirculating systems, like the ones in aquaponics, is banned for the main grow-out phase, so that's out too. It makes getting an organic certification completely and totally impossible. So, where does that leave us? What does all this mean for the future of such a promising technology in one of the biggest economies in Europe?
Let's just recap the hurdles for a second. You've got this legal gray area. Is it a farm or a factory? You've got a bureaucratic maze with no central office. You've got incredibly strict rules for both the fish and the plants. And to top it all off, you are completely blocked from the super valuable organic market. Basically, the system treats aquaponics like this unsolvable puzzle, and it just crushes entrepreneurs.
And it's not getting any easier. In fact, the paperwork is about to get worse. Starting in 2026, new EU laws are going to require these complex, digital, machine-readable tracking codes for every single batch of fish that gets sold.
Which really leaves us with one big final question to think about. When you have a system that is literally designed for sustainability, but it's completely blocked and stifled by all these regulations, do you blame the innovation, or is it maybe time to redesign the framework itself?